In the vast expanse of the cosmos, the Galactic Empire stood as a beacon of power and authority. For millennia, they had conquered and assimilated countless worlds, expanding their reach across the stars. Yet their insatiable hunger for dominion knew no bounds. High above the glittering capital world of Zyrex Prime, the Empire's Supreme Council convened in their orbital palace. The chamber buzzed with anticipation as the most powerful beings in the known universe gathered to discuss their next move. Emperor Zorn, a towering figure with iridescent scales and piercing silver eyes, sat upon his crystalline throne. His gaze swept across the assembly of alien dignitaries, each representing a different conquered species within the Empire's vast holdings. "My loyal subjects," Zorn's voice boomed, silencing the murmurs. "Our scouts have discovered a world of great potential, a planet teeming with resources, strategically positioned at the edge of an unexplored sector." Holographic displays flickered to life, projecting images of a blue-green world suspended in the void of space. Earth, in all its beauty, rotated slowly before the Council's eyes. Grand Admiral Xyra, a being of pure energy contained within an exosuit, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, our initial scans reveal a civilization on the cusp of interstellar travel. They possess nuclear capabilities and have begun to explore their own solar system." Murmurs of intrigue rippled through the chamber. A species at such a crucial stage of development was rare and valuable. "What of their defenses?" Emperor Zorn inquired, leaning forward with interest. General Kraz, a hulking warrior with 4 arms and battle-scarred skin, grunted dismissively. "Primitive, Your Majesty. Their most advanced weapons would be useless against our shielding technology." A sly smile crept across Emperor Zorn's face. "Excellent. This Earth shall make a fine addition to our empire, not only for its resources, but as a strategic outpost for further expansion into that sector." Councillor Vex, a diminutive creature with an oversized brain visible through its transparent skull, raised a spindly hand. "If I may, Your Majesty, our research suggests that this species, these humans, are remarkably adaptable and resilient. They have overcome numerous planetary disasters and continue to advance at an unprecedented rate." Emperor Zorn waved a dismissive hand. "All the more reason to bring them into the fold now, before they become a potential threat." The Supreme Council nodded in agreement, their decision made. Earth would be the Empire's next conquest. As the meeting adjourned, Emperor Zorn summoned his most trusted advisor, Shadowmund, a being of pure thought, capable of traversing vast distances instantaneously. "Go to this Earth," Zorn commanded. "Observe these humans up close. Learn their weaknesses, their hopes, their fears. When the time comes, we shall strike where it hurts most." Shadowmund pulsed in acknowledgement before vanishing, its essence streaking across the cosmos towards the unsuspecting blue planet. Back on Earth, life continued as usual. Humans went about their daily routines, blissfully unaware of the cosmic forces aligning against them. In bustling cities and quiet villages, in research labs and military bases, no one suspected that alien eyes were now watching their every move. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a brilliant astrophysicist working at a remote observatory in Chile, frowned at her computer screen. Strange signals had been detected at the edge of the solar system, signals that defied conventional explanation. "Hey, Mike," she called to her colleague. "Come take a look at this. I think we might be onto something big." As Elena and Mike pored over the data, trying to make sense of what they were seeing, they had no idea that they were witnessing the first signs of the Galactic Empire's approach. Thousands of miles away, in a top-secret military facility, General Sarah Chen received an urgent report. Unidentified objects had been detected moving at impossible speeds near Jupiter's orbit. "Get me the president," she barked, her mind racing with the implications. "And someone find out why the hell our early warning systems didn't catch this sooner." As night fell across the planet, most of humanity slept peacefully, dreaming of their own small concerns, but in scattered locations around the globe, a handful of individuals began to realize that everything was about to change. The Galactic Empire had set its sights on Earth, and humanity's greatest challenge was about to begin. As the Galactic Empire plodded in the far reaches of space, life on Earth continued in blissful ignorance. The blue planet spun on its axis, its inhabitants going about their daily lives, unaware of the cosmic storm brewing just beyond their sight. In New York City, Sarah Thompson hurried down a busy street, her eyes glued to her smartphone. She was late for a job interview and didn't notice the strange shimmer in the sky above, a brief distortion that marked Shadowman's arrival on Earth. Across the ocean in Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka sat in bumper-to-bumper traffic, drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. He sighed, thinking about the project deadline looming at work. The radio crackled with news of unusual solar activity, but Hiroshi barely registered it, his mind preoccupied with more immediate concerns. Meanwhile, in a small village in Kenya, a Maniokello taught a group of children under the shade of a large acacia tree. She pointed to the stars, visible even in the daytime, and spoke of the vastness of the universe. Little did she know that among those twinkling lights, an alien armada was assembling, poised to change their world forever. At the International Space Station, astronaut John Martinez peered out of the cupola, his breath catching at the magnificent view of Earth below. A flicker of movement caught his eye, something sleek and unnatural passing by at impossible speed. He blinked, and it was gone. Must be space debris, he thought, making a mental note to report it later. Back in Chile, Dr. Elena Rodriguez hadn't left the observatory for days. The strange signals she detected had only grown stronger and more frequent. Her colleagues were starting to take notice, and whispers of first contact echoed through the facility's corridors. "Elena, you need to see this," her assistant Carlos said, rushing into the room with a tablet. "We're picking up similar readings from observatories all over the world." Elena's heart raced as she scanned the data. This was no anomaly. Something was out there, and it was getting closer. In Washington, D.C., General Sarah Chen paced the floor of a secure underground bunker. Satellite images and reports from various military installations worldwide covered the walls. Each piece of evidence pointed to an inescapable conclusion. Earth was being washed. "Madam President," Chen said, addressing the leader of the United States via secure video link, "I believe we're dealing with a potential extraterrestrial presence. Our systems are detecting objects in orbit that don't match any known satellites or space debris." The president's face paled. "Are you certain, General, this isn't some elaborate hoax or malfunction?" "I'm afraid not, ma'am. We've cross-verified with multiple independent sources. Something is out there, and it's not ours." As world leaders were quietly informed of the situation, a sense of unease began to ripple through global intelligence communities. Yet, for the vast majority of Earth's population, it was just another day. In a small town in Russia, Dmitry Volkov closed up his repair shop for the night. He paused to look up at the stars, a habit he'd had since childhood. A bright light streaked across the sky, too fast and too straight to be a shooting star. Dmitry shrugged, unaware he had just witnessed an Imperial scout ship entering Earth's atmosphere. On a beach in Australia, Lisa Chen was live streaming the sunset for her followers when her phone suddenly lost signal. The camera caught a split-second image of a strange, disc-like object hovering on the horizon before the stream cut out entirely. "Ugh, stupid phone," Lisa muttered, tapping the screen in frustration. She'd upload the video later, not realizing she had captured evidence of humanity's first glimpse of alien technology. As night fell across different time zones, most of humanity prepared for sleep, their dreams untouched by the looming threat. But in scattered locations around the globe, a handful of individuals lay awake, their minds racing with the implications of what they had seen or discovered. In the depths of space, Shadowman observed it all. The entity's consciousness spread across the planet, absorbing information, analyzing weaknesses, and preparing its report for Emperor Zorn. Earth's defenses were indeed primitive, its population largely unaware of the vastness of the cosmos, and the dangers lurking within. Yet, as Shadowman compiled its findings, a note of caution formed within its thoughts. There was something about these humans, a spark of ingenuity, a stubborn resilience, that gave the entity pause. Perhaps conquering this world would not be as simple as the Empire believed. As a new day dawned on Earth, its inhabitants awoke to what they thought was just another ordinary morning. But high above, hidden from view, the Galactic Empire's fleet edged ever closer, ready to shatter humanity's unsuspecting peace forever. The day that changed everything started like any other. People around the world woke up, had breakfast, and went about their morning routines. But by nightfall, nothing would ever be the same again. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, delegates from around the world gathered for what they thought would be a routine session on climate change. The chamber buzzed with the usual chatter and debate. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A strange humming filled the air, growing louder by the second. Delegates looked around in confusion, some reaching for their translation devices, thinking they had malfunctioned. Then, in a flash of brilliant light, a figure appeared at the center of the chamber. Gasps and cries of shock echoed through the room as people scrambled back from their seats. The being before them was clearly not human. It stood over 7 feet tall, with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Its large, almond-shaped eyes swept across the room, taking in the shocked faces of the Earth's representatives. People of Earth, the alien spoke, its voice resonating in everyone's minds rather than through the air. I am Zephyr, last survivor of the Aetherian race. I come with a grave warning. In Washington, D.C., General Sarah Chen burst into the Oval Office, her face pale. Madam President, you need to see this now. She switched on the television, where every channel was broadcasting the scene from the UN. The president sank into her chair, her eyes wide with disbelief. My God, she whispered. It's really happening. Back at the UN, Zephyr continued. A great and terrible force approaches your world. The Galactic Empire, a vast and merciless confederation of conquered planets, has set its sights on Earth. Murmurs of fear and disbelief rippled through the chamber. Zephyr raised a hand, calling for silence. My own world fell to the Empire centuries ago. I have traveled across the stars, fleeing their expansion, warning those in their path. But never have I encountered a species with the potential to resist as you humans do. In Chile, Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the broadcast with her team, their earlier discoveries now cast in a terrifying new light. The signals, she breathed. This is what we've been detecting. Zephyr's voice grew urgent. The Empire's fleet approaches as we speak. They will offer you a choice. Surrender or be destroyed. But know this, surrender means the end of your freedom, your culture, everything that makes you human. Around the world, people gathered around televisions, smartphones, and any screen they could find. In Times Square, a crowd watched in stunned silence as Zephyr's warning was displayed on the massive billboards. You have one advantage, Zephyr continued. The Empire underestimates you. They see a primitive species, easy to conquer. They do not understand the strength of your spirit, the power of your unity. In a small apartment in Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka clutched his wife's hand, their earlier worries about work deadlines now seeming trivial in the face of this cosmic threat. Zephyr's form began to flicker. My time grows short. The Empire's technology will soon detect my presence. You must prepare. Unite your world. Harness your ingenuity. It is your only hope. As the alien's image faded, it left one final message. Remember, humans of Earth, you are not alone in this fight. There are others in the galaxy who resist the Empire. Find them, and may the cosmic forces be with you. With a flash, Zephyr vanished, leaving the UN chamber in chaos. Delegates shouted, some in fear, others in disbelief. Security personnel rushed in, trying to maintain order. Across the globe, the reaction was immediate and intense. In some places, panic erupted. People rushed to stores, clearing shelves of food and supplies. In others, impromptu gatherings formed as people sought comfort in community. Governments scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings were called. Military forces were put on high alert. Scientists were mobilized to analyze every scrap of data they had on the strange occurrences of the past few days. As night fell across different time zones, few people slept. The world buzzed with a mixture of fear, excitement, and determination. Humanity had just received its wake-up call. They were not alone in the universe, and they were in terrible danger. In orbit around Earth, hidden from human detection, Shadowmund observed the aftermath of Zephyr's warning. This was an unexpected development, one that could complicate the Empire's plans. As the entity prepared to report back to Emperor Zorn, it couldn't help but feel a twinge of something unfamiliar: doubt. The stage was set. The warning had been delivered. Now, humanity faced the greatest challenge in its history. The question remained: how would they respond? In the days following Zephyr's warning, Earth transformed. The initial shock and panic gave way to a surge of unity and determination unlike anything in human history. World leaders, setting aside old rivalries, convened an emergency global summit. The United Nations building in New York became the center of frantic activity as representatives from every nation gathered to form a unified response to the impending threat. Inside the main chamber, the air crackled with tension and urgency. The U.S. President, flanked by General Sarah Chen, addressed the assembly. "We face an unprecedented threat," she said, her voice firm. "But we also have an unprecedented opportunity. Today, we stand not as separate nations, but as one planet, one people, united against a common enemy." Cheers and applause echoed through the chamber. For the first time in history, the nations of Earth agreed to pool all their resources and knowledge. In labs and research facilities around the world, scientists worked around the clock. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself leading an international team of astrophysicists, analyzing every scrap of data about the approaching Empire fleet. "If we can understand their technology," Elena explained to her diverse team, "we might find a weakness we can exploit." Meanwhile, in Silicon Valley, tech giants redirected all their efforts towards defense. Social media platforms became coordination hubs for global cooperation. Artificial intelligence systems were repurposed to process vast amounts of space data, searching for any sign of the Empire's approach. Hiroshi Tanaka, once a simple salaryman, now found himself part of a global network of hackers and programmers, working to enhance Earth's cyber defenses. His fingers flew over the keyboard as he collaborated with colleagues from every corner of the planet. "We're creating a digital shield," Hiroshi explained to a news reporter. "If they try to hack our systems, they'll find it's not so easy." Military bases buzzed with activity as armed forces from around the world began joint training exercises. In a desert in Nevada, soldiers from former enemy nations stood side by side, learning to operate newly developed weapon systems. General Chen supervised the training, her face grim but determined. "We're turning every satellite, every telescope, every sensor we have towards space," she told her international team of officers. "The Empire won't catch us off guard again." Underground bunkers and mountain facilities were hastily converted into shelters and command centers. Workers toiled day and night, stockpiling supplies and setting up advanced communication systems. In Kenya, Amani Okello organized her village to build a shelter. As she laid bricks alongside her neighbors, she felt a sense of purpose she'd never known before. "We may not have much," she told the children helping out, "but we have our strength and our unity." Governments poured money into scientific research. Projects that once seemed like science fiction were fast-tracked into development. Particle beam weapons, force field generators, and even primitive warp drive prototypes moved from theory to testing in a matter of weeks. In orbit, the International Space Station was transformed into humanity's first line of defense. Astronaut John Martinez helped install new sensor arrays and prototype weapon systems. Looking down at the Earth, he marveled at the absence of visible borders. From space, humanity truly looked like one united people. Global industries rapidly retooled for the coming conflict. Car factories now produced parts for advanced fighter jets. Textile mills churned out new advanced materials for space-worthy suits. Even toy companies repurposed their plastic molding machines to create components for communication devices. In Times Square, the once flashy billboards now displayed a constant stream of information, emergency protocols, evacuation routes, and inspiring messages of global unity. Similar scenes played out in city centers around the world, from Tokyo to London to Rio de Janeiro. As the days passed, the initial fear began to transform into a grim determination. Humanity, for all its previous conflicts and divisions, was coming together in a way no one had thought possible. Sarah Thompson, who had been worried about a job interview just days ago, now volunteered at a community preparedness center. "It's strange," she told a fellow volunteer as they handed out emergency kits. "A week ago, we were all strangers. Now, it feels like we're one big family." In space, unseen by human eyes, Shadowmund observed the rapid mobilization with growing concern. The entity had never seen a species unite and adapt so quickly. For the first time, it began to question whether the Empire's victory was as assured as Emperor Zorn believed. As the sun set on another day of feverish preparation, humanity stood more ready, more united, and more determined than ever before. The Galactic Empire had set its sights on Earth, but Earth was setting its sights right back. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just one planet, but potentially the entire galaxy. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. The day humanity had been preparing for finally arrived. It began with a strange silence. All across the globe, electronic devices went dead. TVs turned to static, phones lost signal, and the internet went dark. An eerie quiet fell over the world's cities as the usual hum of technology faded away. In the skies above, a massive fleet of sleek, otherworldly ships suddenly appeared. They seemed to materialize out of thin air, their hulls gleaming in the sunlight. The ships were so large they cast shadows over entire cities. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, now the Central Command for Earth's Defense, alarms blared. General Sarah Chen burst into the main chamber, her face grim. "They're here," she announced to the assembled world leaders. "The Empire's fleet has entered Earth's orbit." Screens around the room flickered to life, showing images of the alien ships hovering over major cities worldwide. A tense silence fell over the room as everyone realized the moment they had been dreading was finally upon them. Suddenly, every working screen on the planet lit up with the same image. A towering, regal figure with iridescent scales and piercing silver eyes. Emperor Zorn of the Galactic Empire had made his appearance. "People of Earth," the alien ruler's voice boomed in every language simultaneously. "Your primitive world has been chosen to become part of the glorious Galactic Empire. Resistance is futile. Surrender now, and you may live to serve as loyal subjects. Resist, and you will be destroyed." In a small apartment in Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka clenched his fists as he watched the broadcast. The fear he felt was overwhelmed by a surge of defiance. "We won't go down without a fight," he muttered. At the Chile Observatory, Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her team worked frantically to analyze the alien ships. "Their technology is incredible," she breathed, her eyes wide as she studied the readings. "But every technology has a weakness. We just need to find it." Emperor Zorn continued his speech. "You have one Earth rotation to make your decision. When your sun next rises, we expect your unconditional surrender. If you choose to resist, it will be the last dawn your world ever sees." As the transmission ended, chaos erupted worldwide. In Times Square, the crowd that had gathered to watch the broadcast broke into a cacophony of shouts and cries. Sarah Thompson, standing among them, felt a chill run down her spine. Back at the UN, world leaders engaged in heated debate. Some argued for immediate surrender, hoping to save lives. Others insisted on fighting to the last, unwilling to give up Earth's freedom without a battle. The U.S. president stood up, calling for order. "We've prepared for this," she reminded everyone. "We knew this day would come. Now we must stand united. We will not surrender. Earth will not bow to tyranny." Her words were met with a resounding cheer. The decision was made. Earth would fight. As news of the decision spread, a mix of fear and determination swept across the globe. In Kenya, a Maniokelo gathered her village in their newly built shelter. "We are strong," she told them, her voice unwavering. "We are ready." Military bases around the world sprang into action. Pilots scrambled to their advanced fighter jets, ground troops manned defensive positions, and naval fleets set out to sea. The weapons that had been so hastily developed were armed and ready. In orbit, astronaut John Martinez and his crew on the International Space Station watched as Earth's fledgling space fleet took up defensive positions. The retrofitted satellites and hastily constructed space fighters looked tiny compared to the Empire's massive ships, but they stood their ground. As the hours ticked by, humanity braced itself for the fight of its life. Families huddled together in shelters, soldiers said goodbye to loved ones, and scientists worked feverishly to find any last-minute advantage. High above, Shadowmond observed the humans' defiance with a mix of admiration and concern. The entity had warned Emperor Zorn not to underestimate the species, but the Emperor had dismissed its cautions. Now, as it watched the humans prepare for battle against overwhelming odds, Shadowmond wondered if the Empire had made a grave mistake. As the sun began to set around the world, people everywhere stopped to watch. For many, they feared it might be the last sunset they ever saw. But as darkness fell, the lights of cities, towns, and villages blazed defiantly against the night. In New York, General Chen stood at the window of the UN building, watching the alien ships looming in the sky. "Get ready," she said into her comm unit. "At dawn, we fight." The stage was set. In just a few hours, the sun would rise on the most important day in human history. The battle for Earth was about to begin. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, the world held its breath. The Galactic Empire's massive ships loomed in the sky, their sleek forms casting long shadows over the cities below. Earth's deadline had passed, and humanity had made its choice. They would fight. General Sarah Chen stood in the UN Command Center, her eyes fixed on the giant screens displaying battle plans and real-time data from around the globe. "All units, prepare for engagement," she ordered, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. High above the Earth, astronaut John Martinez gripped the controls of his retrofitted space fighter. Around him, Earth's hastily assembled space fleet took up defensive positions. "Remember your training," he said to his fellow pilots over the comm. "We're humanity's first line of defense." The tense silence was shattered as the Empire made its first move. Thousands of smaller ships poured out from the massive cruisers, descending towards Earth like a swarm of angry hornets. "They're coming in hot," John yelled as he and his squadron swooped to intercept. The space around Earth erupted in a dazzling display of laser fire and explosions. On the ground, military bases around the world sprang into action. Advanced fighter jets screamed into the sky, while ground-based energy weapons powered up, their barrels aimed at the incoming alien crafts. In New York, Sarah Thompson huddled in a shelter with dozens of others, listening to the sounds of battle overhead. "I never thought I'd live to see something like this," she murmured, clutching the small radio for news updates. Back in the command center, Dr. Elena Rodriguez burst in, her eyes wild with excitement. "General Chen, we've found something." She quickly explained their discovery, a potential weakness in the Empire's shielding technology. "If we can transmit a specific frequency," Elena said, her words tumbling out rapidly, "we might be able to disrupt their shields momentarily." General Chen nodded grimly. "That's the break we need. Get that information to all our forces immediately." As the battle raged on, humanity's forces fought with unexpected tenacity. The Empire's ships were more advanced, but Earth's defenders were scrappy and innovative. For every human ship that fell, they managed to take down one or two of the Empire's craft. In orbit, John Martinez's squadron put Elena's discovery to the test. As they approached a large Empire battleship, they activated the disruptive frequency. For a brief moment, the ship's shields flickered. "Now," John shouted. His team let loose a barrage of missiles, which passed through the weakened shields and struck the ship's hull. The resulting explosion lit up the sky. On the ground, similar scenes played out. In Kenya, Amani Okello watched in awe as a group of Empire ships approaching her village suddenly faltered. The hastily assembled energy weapon they had built, powered by the disruptive frequency, had worked. The villagers cheered as the alien crafts crashed into the empty savannah. But the Empire's forces were vast, and for every small victory, Earth's defenders faced new challenges. Cities around the world suffered heavy damage as the battle raged on. The sky was filled with smoke and the flashes of weapon fire. In Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka worked furiously at his computer, part of a global network fighting a digital war against the Empire's attempts to hack Earth's systems. "They're good," he muttered, his fingers flying over the keyboard, "but we're better." As the day wore on, both sides suffered heavy losses. The Empire, clearly surprised by Earth's resistance, began to change tactics. Their attacks became more focused, targeting key military installations and power centers. In the UN Command Center, General Chen received reports from around the world. Despite the heavy losses, Earth's forces were holding their own. But how long could they keep this up against the Empire's superior numbers and technology? As the sun began to set on the first day of battle, Emperor Zorn watched the conflict from his flagship with growing frustration. This primitive planet was proving far more troublesome than anticipated. "My Emperor," Shadowman communicated, its thoughts tinged with concern. "Perhaps we have underestimated these humans. Their resourcefulness and determination are unexpected." Emperor Zorn's eyes narrowed. "Unexpected, yes. But it changes nothing. Prepare my personal battle cruiser. It's time I dealt with this insurgents myself." As night fell over a battered but unbroken Earth, the defenders regrouped and tended to their wounded. They had survived the first day, but the battle was far from over. And unbeknownst to them, the Empire's supreme leader was about to enter the fray. The war for Earth's future was about to enter its most critical phase. As the dawn of the second day broke, Earth's defenders steeled themselves for another round of intense battle. But the sight that greeted them was unexpected. The Empire's fleet had regrouped, forming a tight formation around a massive ornate ship that hadn't been there before. In the UN Command Center, General Sarah Chen frowned at the screens. "What are they up to?" she muttered. Suddenly, every working communication device on Earth crackled to life. Emperor Zorn's face appeared, his silver eyes gleaming with barely contained rage. "Humans," he snarled, "your resistance has been amusing, but it ends now. I will personally oversee your planet's subjugation." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had been analyzing the new ship, gasped. "General, that ship, it's not just big, it's generating massive energy readings. If it fires, it could devastate entire continents." Around the world, people watched the Emperor's broadcast with a mix of fear and determination. In New York, Sarah Thompson clenched her fists. In Tokyo, Hiroshi Tanaka redoubled his efforts to breach the Empire's cyber defenses. In Kenya, Amani Okello gathered her people, preparing for what might be their final stand. High above Earth, astronaut John Martinez received new orders. "All units," General Chen's voice came through the comm. "Focus your attacks on the Emperor's ship. It's our only chance." Earth's remaining forces converged on the Imperial flagship. Fighter jets, space cruisers, and ground-based weapons all targeted the massive ship. But its shields were too strong. Nothing seemed to get through. As the Emperor's ship charged its main weapon, aimed directly at Earth's heart, desperation set in. But in that darkest moment, an unexpected ally emerged. Shadowman, the entity that had observed humanity's struggle, made a decision. It could no longer stand by and watch. In a flash, it appeared in Earth's command center. "I can help," it communicated directly into the minds of those present. "The Emperor's arrogance is his weakness. His Schutzschiilds shields have a flaw, one he believes no one knows about." With Shadowman's guidance, Dr. Rodriguez quickly devised a plan. They would need to get close, dangerously close, to the Emperor's ship and hit a specific point with a concentrated burst of their disruptive frequency. John Martinez volunteered for the mission. "I'll do it," he said, his voice steady. "Just tell me where to aim." As John's small fighter approached the massive Imperial flagship, the Emperor noticed. "Insignificant pest," Zorn sneered, targeting the tiny ship with his weapons. But John was faster. Following Elena and Shadowman's instructions, he fired the disruptive pulse at precisely the right moment and location. For a split second, a small section of the flagship's shields flickered. "Now," General Chen ordered. Every weapon Earth had left fired at that single point. The Emperor's overconfidence had been his downfall. The combined firepower breached the ship's hull, setting off a chain reaction. Explosions rippled across the massive vessel. Inside, Emperor Zorn watched in disbelief as his invincible ship crumbled around him. "Impossible," he whispered, before being engulfed in a final, blinding explosion. The loss of their leader threw the Empire's forces into chaos. Without central command, their formations broke. Earth's defenders pressed their advantage, driving the invaders back. As the realization of victory spread, cheers erupted around the world. In Times Square, Sarah Thompson hugged strangers in joy. In Tokyo, Hiroshi pumped his fist in the air. In Kenya, a Mani's village danced in celebration. In the days that followed, the remnants of the Empire's fleet retreated. Shadowman, impressed by humanity's spirit, chose to stay on Earth, offering to help humanity prepare for future challenges that might lie ahead in the cosmos. As the world began to rebuild, there was a new sense of unity and purpose. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. They had proven themselves not just to the Galactic Empire, but to the entire universe. General Chen, addressing the UN and the world, summed it up best. "Today, we are no longer just citizens of Earth. We have earned our place among the stars. And we will face whatever comes next, together." As the sun set on a free Earth, its people looked to the sky not with fear, but with hope and determination. The Galactic Empire had set its sights on Earth, but Earth had set its sights on a brighter future among the stars. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.